Talking Bills and Packers. Week 6 is in the book. How's it going, everybody? I am Rob, and with me, as always, my co-pilot, Brian.
Hey, Rob.
No DVD this week, so we'll have to soldier on without her. Last week, it was sort of the same story last week. We were like, we have a positive that we can start the show with, and we have a huge negative that we can start the show with. We opted to start negative last week. Let's do the reverse this week and start positive and discuss a statement win for the Buffalo Bills. Another instant classic between the Bills and Chiefs. But before we talk about the Bills' performance, let's talk about this rivalry. Like this, we're staring at another 10 years, 12 years of Mahomes v. Allen in the NFL.
It's unbelievable. Like, I was talking to a colleague at work today about this, and we were saying, we're like, imagine the AFC playoffs could just be 3 games as the Bills and winner goes to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
That would be unbelievable.
They're on a collision course for the playoffs. We all know this. I hope that it's an AFC championship game, selfishly, as opposed to last year when it was the divisional round. I hope they meet again. With Buffalo getting that win, if they can continue to go on and have the season we all think they're going to have, it looks like that game could be in Orchard Park.
And like, I believe if it Orchard Park, I think the Bills will dominate in Orchard. Mm-hmm. It's a totally different ball game there. In KC, I still think the Bills win, but it'd be like a 24-20 type game like we just saw.
Right. I think we have to start with Josh Allen. This man,
freak of nature.
Oh, this man. When you sit down on the couch every week and you're about to watch the Buffalo Bills, and this is why, there's been a lot of talking and complaining about pass interference calls lately. And the reason why they've ramped it up is obviously because of the Tua situation, but also because they want to protect the quarterbacks. And when you watch a game like this one, I'm on board with it, honestly, because could you imagine that game without Mahomes or Allen?
I know, like I was the one pushing back on this podcast about that rule change of not tackling the quarterbacks. I'm kind of seeing your way. As long as he can still hurdle people, I'm all good. Mm-hmm. As long as I can watch that, I'm perfect.
Listen, the second you step out of the pocket, you're fair game.
Yeah.
But in the pocket, like they're going to have to be protected because if they get hurt, it damages the product.
And Josh Allen's such a psychopath. Like, he's running the ball. He could just slide down or run out. But what does he do? He just puts his head into a defensive lineman, just being like, "No, you're not going to knock me down." Even though he fell down, but he's just a beast.
Yeah, he's an animal. He's an absolute animal. Give me your thoughts on his performance.
His performance was, crazy stat line again, but it was more just showing that grit, being able to win in a tight game like that. The game-winning drive is actually when he did the hurdle, which was unbelievable to do it at that point. There started the game, I think there were some jitters, that red zone INT, or not red zone INT, but turnover there. I don't like that because we're going for it on 4th down and then just the ball's turned over. But I mean, he was unbelievable. Over 300 yards again. Diggs also unbelievable. That guy spits out 150 yards every game without even really, you don't notice him half the time. He's quietly getting 150 yards it's unbelievable.
10 catches, 148 yards.
But I do want to apologize to a certain running back I've been just berating on this show since last year. It was all last year, all beginning of this year. Devin Singletary had a game.
Yep.
He had a game. He was getting positive yards every time he was rushing the ball. He averaged 5 yards for his entire carries, which that's all I asked for. Let's just get some positive yards. But I would be concerned if I was Kansas City and that defensive line allowing a Devin Singletary and this historically bad offense running the ball just run all over you like that. Like, Singletary rushed 17 times and he got positive yards pretty much every time.
Mm-hmm. And that's something we've talked about repeatedly about the Bills' need for a run game and what a difference that would make to their offense to have an effective running back.
And I did notice the offensive linemen were doing Kyle Shanahan-esque sort of, angled lines on their pushes. I think if we see more of that, the running game's going to open wide up because that's how you're successful running, if you get those angles.
Another Buffalo Bill who stood out in this game?
Well, Gabe Davis, of course. Sorry,
Yep.
I thought you were asking me.
No, I was gonna go to the defensive side of the ball, and was gonna go to Mr. Von Miller. Mahomes interception at the end of the game was all him.
All him.
Just what a football player, man! What a football player.
I just keep thinking, like, imagine we had him in last year's AFC divisional game.
Yep.
Like that kind of pressure is. There's only one Von Miller. And he just does it with such swag, too.
I've gotten to the point with the Buffalo Bills where if they do not at least make it to the Super Bowl, they'll have no one to blame but themselves.
I'm at the same point, too. Like, yeah. I already cheer for the Leafs who can't get out of the first round. Like, I need a team to at least make some noise in the playoffs. Let's go. Like,
dude,
the
I think
championship, at least you got to win that game.
I think Bills, Eagles, Buffalo v. Philly would be an epic Super Bowl. Epic.
And it's kind of going that way. Like, Philly looks pretty dominant in the NFC.
Well, we're going to talk about Philly later.
Yeah.
Philly burst that Cooper Rush bubble.
They did.
Pretty hard, yeah.
Could you just imagine that parking lot at that Super Bowl? That would be...
Oh, my God. The viral videos coming out of...
Yeah.
Where's it's in Arizona.
Arizona.
The viral videos coming out of Arizona with those two fan bases would be... the stuff of legend.
And the Arizona bros would be shocked with what they're seeing. Like the locals around there, they'd be like, dude, what is happening right now?
I know. It'd be so great.
People just busting through tables. And
So I think I heard a great conversation on the radio the other day about, is Josh Allen, the new sheriff in town? And I am not ready to anoint him over Mahomes in the AFC just yet until we see that playoff success.
I agree with you 100%. That's where it matters. Show it. Like, we won a close game in week 7. Great. Show me that in the playoffs, please. Or sorry, week 6, whatever we're at.
Yes. So speaking of week 7, who do the Bills play in week 7?
Let me see. We're playing...
Let's take a
nobody. We're on a bye week.
No, it's the bye. It's the bye.
Yeah.
Yes, I knew it was the bye. I mean, hey, man, do you think this is too early for a bye?
I kind of like it. After that KC game, rest up. It was high intensity. The build up to that game throughout the week was a lot of pressure.
Oh, my God. This just dawned on me that they're going to get a bye this Sunday and then come back freshly rested off a bye at home against the lowly, pathetic Green Bay Packers.
Who can still have a get-right game. That's still on the table.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, Brian. No, everything's off the table. We might as well transition over to it now. Everything's off the table. Everything is off the table. In all my years of being a Green Bay Packer fan, there have been some brutal losses. Like the game 4 years ago that they lost to Arizona that got Mike McCarthy fired comes to mind. There have been some brutal losses. But this one to the New York, and credit to the New York Jets, but I don't know. I've had days to think about it, and I'm still at a loss for words. Did you ever think we would get to a place where you've got the back-to-back MVP under center? Some people refer to him as the greatest thrower of the football ever. The greatest, naturally gifted, talented thrower of the football of all time. Teams are stacking the box on every snap, daring him to throw the football because they're like, you can't. You've got no passing game. You've got no deep threat. And that's just the issues that are happening on the field. We have the coaching that is a disaster. We have the defense that continues to be a disaster. We have Aaron Rodgers coming out after the game and saying we need to simplify the offense. We have Matt LaFleur the next day saying, I don't know what that means. It's like they're clearly not on the same page. I could come on here and I could rant and rave, but I wanted to read something to you really quick. This is a fantastic, I'm going to read just a part of this Twitter thread that I found from this guy named Jason Perrone, who's the host of the Quick Slants podcast for Game On Wisconsin. And he says, quote, the Packers don't need to trade for a wide receiver. They're broken right now. Week 6 aside, a vet wide receiver isn't going to fix much. The biggest broken piece is the QB who won't fully immerse himself into the offense and the culture created by the head coach and team who continued to center themselves around the quarterback. On paper, it looks like they made the right call at the time with Rodgers winning back-to-back MVP. In reality, it looks like time has run out. Not getting it done these past two was the final failure, and the proverbial window is closed.
I mean, that's facts.
Yes.
That's hard hitting. It's tough to hear, especially if you're a Green Bay Packers fan, but that's facts.
Yes.
How do you feel about that?
I said it last week. We had a guy comment on our video and tell me I was crazy, but I said it last week. I think he's the problem. I think he does not listen. There's rumors circulating. It's funny, we just had this discussion on the show a couple weeks ago, and then a rumor started circulating that he's already told people in the building that he's hanging it up after this year.
It doesn't shock me. Like, after the start he's having, his ego can't take this.
No, it can't. So, if you're Brian Gutekunst, I think you look at the situation, you say, he's probably gone at the end of the year. We've got to move heaven and earth to try and do something with this offense, and we have to do something that we as an organization don't usually do, which is trade draft capital or mortgage a bit of the future to go and get a legit wide receiver, because that's and you got to go all in this year, because I'll be honest with you, if they don't, they're going to be hard pressed to make the playoffs. I think the NFC as a whole is pretty terrible.
Shockingly, like a lot of teams are shockingly terrible too.
Yes, the NFC as a whole, with the exception of the Eagles and the New York Football Giants, the NFC is pretty terrible. So I think that even if they hover around 500, they could still be in the mix for one of the wild card spots at the end of the year. But I think they, as an organization, have to decide: are we gonna go all in this year with Rodgers, given that it's probably going to be his last year?
Yeah, and then, like, what this might be hard to hear, but like what I personally would do after this year, cut ties with Rodgers. We'll start Jordan Love. We'll finish lower spots, get good draft picks, maybe even draft another quarterback.
Yep.
And thanks, Jordan Love. Thanks for keeping us going for a year or two. But now we got our new guy. That's kind of what I would do. It sucks as a fan base because the rebuilding is horrible to go through.
Yep.
But I mean, sometimes it's necessary.
Well, and we as a Packer fan base have been spoiled with Brett Favre followed by Aaron Rodgers.
And I've been the reverse, so it's
yes. So you don't feel too bad.
No, I don't feel horrible.
No, you don't feel too bad for us. So there is clearly like a cultural problem here, and that to me is what is so concerning. Like, it's one thing to look at the offense and go, well, he's got a bunch of kids on wide receiver, and he's just talent-wise, they're not good. Their offensive line, too, was horrendous in the game against the Jets. And it's another thing to look at the defense and go, Joe Barry is a horrific defensive coordinator, was a bad hire to begin with. Like, that I can get my head around. It's when the coach doesn't have any answers. And it's when the quarterback is coming out after and saying we need to simplify things. And it's when the coach is rebuttaling saying, I don't know what that means. And like just this sort of passive aggressive back and forth between these two guys that's currently going on. I'm not saying they're feuding or anything, but it's clear, and I'm sorry, we've heard for weeks and weeks, we got to get Aaron Jones the ball. We got to get Aaron Jones the ball. Rodgers is the one checking out of these plays at the line of scrimmage. Rodgers has carte blanche to check out of any play he wants. And I don't know, man. I don't know.
I just think he got too used to that West Coast, like California type offense. Even Mike McCarthy is pretty good at doing the West Coast offense. He can't handle complicated schemes. That's what I'm really. Imagine him in a Kyle Shanahan offense. This kid's head would blow up.
Conversely, you could look at this Packer team if you're Brian Gutekunst and say he's probably going to retire at the end of this year. Everything we've heard about this draft coming up is that it's a very QB-rich draft. So maybe we just leave it as is. We play out the rest of the season, get a decently high draft pick, and draft another quarterback.
You might as well. Who's coming up? That is Alabama. What's his name?
I don't know. I don't profess to be like a amateur scouting expert, but all I've heard from all the talking heads who would know is that this is a quarterback rich draft. So
yeah,
it's confusing, man. And you see the same thing happening with Brady right now too. Like the Buccaneers lose to Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are also moved to 3-3. And when I look at Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, it's so funny, right? Like you watch them, they both played at 1:00 Eastern time on Sunday, and they both look terrible, and they both their offenses look terrible. They're both old. They're both trying to do this kind of part-time thing that's not really working. And then you look at Allen versus Mahomes, and then you look at Jalen Hurts in the 8:00 game, and you're like, you guys are just like, it's over for you guys.
Yeah, like maybe it's time to hang, especially for Brady. Like he had the perfect opportunity last year to retire. This whole season's been a disaster. Personal stuff aside, his play has been horrible on the field.
Yeah. If you told me right now that I had to put money, though, on which team I still think will turn it around, I would put money on the Buccaneers.
I'm with you 100%. Like they're a coin flip because that defense, they're not doing so well recently, but when they click, there's no stopping them.
And the same thing and he's just got more weapons on offense. And like I said, Rodgers missed OTAs. He didn't spend any time with these guys. Like he's the one that gets on every interview and talks about the importance of practice and whatever. And it's like him and Brady are just at a point where they don't want to commit full time. And like, I get it. Like you've done your time in the league. Brady, you've won your Super Bowls. Rodgers, you've won your MVPs. You're tired. You're old. I get it. But it's like when you're in a league with Josh Allen, you can't do that.
I know. It's just unfortunate because like it's always Brady and it's always, Rodgers, and it was always, before them, the Mannings and all this stuff. But eventually, we got to move on. Yeah. And I'm not saying that, we have to move on from Rodgers just yet, but Brady, I do think it's time. Like we're done with you in the NFL.
I'm not counting him out just yet. I think, like I said earlier, if there's a team, if you had to pick between the two struggling elder statesman quarterbacks of the league, I would bet money because Brady still has those leadership intangibles.
I keep thinking he's 45 years old. That's just that number keeps popping into my.
He still throws
it hard.
He throws it hard. It's just their offense is not clicking and their defense stinks. So they're down 7-0 to start every game.
And did you see his the scramble run he had to do where he kind of ducked?
Yes,
I was like, whoa, where's this coming from?
And he just has the leadership intangibles that Aaron Rodgers just doesn't have. Like that's why I put more faith in Brady and being able to turn this around.
But I mean, Brady's looking like sickly skinny. I don't know what's happening with him. He doesn't.
The stress of a divorce will do that to you, Brian.
For sure, but like sometimes you go the other way on those.
The funniest tweet I saw all weekend was like a picture of him screaming at his offensive line, and the caption was, "I didn't destroy my family to come back and lose to Kenny fucking Pickett."
Yeah, I saw that one. That one was really good. I'll put that on the Instagram.
That's fantastic. All right, a couple things I wanted to touch on.
Before we move on, though, Rob,
I'm
just disappointed that you guys have now put the Jets into ESPN's top 10 power rankings. They're number 9 on the, and it's I don't like that.
Dude, the shock of the year thus far through 6 weeks are the 2 New York teams.
Yeah. 100%. But like, I still don't like Breece Hall aside. The Jets are not great. Breece Hall is unbelievable.
Dude, Sauce Gardner. Can play.
True.
Sauce Gardner can play.
But like, I mean, Breece Hall is unfucking believable. This guy.
And what's his name? Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
He was like, you know what? I thought he did a really good job. Like he
clean
didn't, like,
clean football.
Clean football. He didn't like. he managed the game pretty well. He didn't put the ball in harm's way. He did I thought he did a really good job. They've got a coach in Robert Saleh who's like an animal on the sideline.
He's the reason they're doing so well. He's a really good coach. But yeah, it's just you only have to throw the ball 10 times really if you're Zach Wilson. Get a couple clean throws, and then the run game just takes over.
Exactly. So yeah, man, it's
I just don't
New York.
it.
Yeah, it just I don't know what to tell you.
Because the Bills are supposed to be the number one. They always get left off the New York chart, even though Buffalo, for geologists out there, it's in the state of New York.
Yes. And all New York State football thus far
has been
very, very good. Very good.
I do like when the Jets and the Giants are good at the same time. It's kind of like when the Yankees and the Mets are good at the same time.
Yes.
New York becomes just such a fun place.
Yep. A couple things I wanted to touch on before we move on and talk about Week 7. I predicted that last week on the show that Commanders Bears had an opportunity to supplant Colts Broncos as the worst football game ever played, and they did exactly that, my friend.
I was going to say you were dead on that one. That was horrible. And I listened to this podcast, and there's it's called Part of My Take. The two hosts are like a Bears and a Commanders fan, and the whole episode they were just apologizing to everybody. Like, we're so sorry you had to see that in prime time. And I get it, because imagine you have to cheer for those teams, and you're like, please God, nobody see this disaster.
If you're Mac Jones, how nervous are you that everyone on the Patriots in the Patriots organization is eating a Zappy meal right now?
Because I'm eating the Zappy meal. This guy, he's so much fun to watch, and he can sling it a lot harder than Mac Jones can sling it, and Belichick seems to give him more of a leash on there.
Yes. It's pretty impressive.
And I have a couple of my good buddies are Patriots fans, and they're at the point now where they're willing to throw Mac Jones aside for Bailey Zappi, which is concerning. That's like one of your high draft picks. You're just like, all right, we're done.
We talked earlier about the surprising performance thus far of the New York football teams. Also in the department of surprising, the Atlanta Falcons are 3-3 with a big win over the San Francisco 49ers.
Marcus Mariota, baby. He's back.
Granted,
even though he's not doing anything.
The Niners are super banged up, so we'll give them that. But that's
and it's
the Atlanta Falcons.
Similar situation to the Giants. Like, they're just doing whatever they can with that roster, and it's working. The run game is dominant.
Amazing what happens when there's no egos in play and you all sort of align around like an ideology.
Isn't that a crazy idea? Eh?
Yes. And last but not least, as we mentioned earlier briefly, the Philadelphia Eagles put an end to the quarterback controversy in Dallas, dominating. I know the score was 26-17, but it was not that close.
No, it wasn't close at all.
Yeah.
And just Dak Prescott's been all over Jerry Jones's mouth recently. It's been all over the news. So Cooper Rush was fun. That was a good time. We'll always remember the Rush times. It was something special, but we got to get Dak in there.
A serviceable backup to come in here for a game here or there, but will he be taking Dak's job? I do not think so.
No, but what he will be doing is making millions of dollars for the next 15 years, sitting on the bench as a backup. Best business move he's ever done.
Yes. Where would you rank backup quarterback in the list of best sports jobs? I think I wouldn't put it too high, because there is always the chance that your quarterback gets hurt and you have to go in. Same thing with being a backup goalie in the NHL. The job you got to get is a bullpen catcher in Major League Baseball.
Oh, half the time you're just sitting there doing 2-and-C, just watching baseball.
Yeah, and then you got to go down and just catch while the guy warms up, and they probably get paid a pretty high salary, and that's the dream job in pro sports, if you ask me.
I was also looking at the especially dream jobs. This isn't a sports related job, but the Zamboni driver at the rinks, like, some of these guys are making like $80K just driving the Zamboni around.
Yeah,
like, this is like, sign me up, please. That's great.
I know. That's you're right. That's right up there. All right, let's take a look at Week 7. We got
There's a
the
great
Green Bay
game.
Packers. Yeah, the Green Bay Packers heading to Washington to take on the Washington Commanders. Taylor Heineke will be under center for the Washington Commanders. That scares me more than Carson Wentz does.
I was going to say the same thing because he's liable just to go off and win that game. Like, he's done that many times.
Taylor Heineke took Tom Brady to the brink in a playoff game.
And Carson Wentz has been horrible. Taylor Heineke might be the spark this Commanders team needs, which is a little concerning.
Exactly. And I think as I said to you earlier, they're after losing to the Jets, the way they did, like, I'm taking nothing away from the Jets. They deserve that win. They played very, very well. But the way they lost to the Jets, nothing is off the table. Nothing.
It was just like a defeated team. Like, they just look like they've got no passion, no mojo. Everything's confusing for them. So, yeah, this is a concerning game. And the Commanders' defense is not horrible.
No. Could it be a get-right game for the Washington Commanders?
Could you imagine? Imagine Brian, next week 3-4,
yes,
27-10 again.
Oh, my God. All right, so when you look at this Week 7 slate, what's jumping out at you?
Well, there's one really obvious game. It's shocking this isn't a primetime game, just like the Bills-Chiefs last week, but Chiefs and 49ers.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, I know the 49ers, especially on defense, like, they're missing their big boys, but for some reason Shanahan just gets in the heads of all these coaches. He's like, I'm just going to run the ball. Just run the ball all down your throat and nothing you can do about it. There's that game, and then there's also, I am interested in the Patriots-Bears game. I want to see if this zappy meal continues.
Well, I mean, that's a good game for him to shine at home too. Whose idea was it to put the Steelers and the Dolphins in Sunday Night Football? Oh my God!
Especially with no Tua, and no TJ Watt. What's the point of watching this game?
There are some stinkers.
I know. I was looking through the list, like. There's a Seattle Chargers, like, as if I'm going to watch that uniform matchup. That's disgusting.
Yes. It is disgusting.
Colts and Titans, another disgusting uniform matchup.
There's Jets Broncos. Oh boy.
I'm sure the Broncos will lose that game in horrible fashion.
Oh, the Broncos. That's a whole other can of worms, man. Like, what is going on there?
Russell Wilson he's the most overrated quarterback. I think Pete Carroll was the reason they were so. But
he's kind of lost his mind.
Oh,
let's
ride.
And stop with the phony baloney, like, positivity. Like, you come off like so. It's not real. You're not a real person. Like, I understand wanting to keep a positive mindset, especially in a world of pro sports where it's just pressure you and I will never experience in our lives. But, like, can you not? Like, can you get up there once and go, yeah, we're pissed. This is awful. This is not how we wanted to start.
I fucked up. Like, let's just call it as it is. But he just keeps saying, Broncos country, let's ride.
Yeah,
when he left the press conference, he said that. Like, do you not see how stupid that sounds?
Yes. And people are like, I don't know.
He thinks people are laughing with him when in reality they're just laughing at him.
Yeah, it's brutal.
What stands out to you, though, otherwise? Did I just name all of them, or?
Yeah, you kind of. I think overall this is a pretty weak weekend matchup wise. I think Browns Ravens is an interesting game because those are two teams that, like, that division is wide open, and those are two teams that could use that win, particularly within the division.
That's a good point. Yeah, I also like the Bengals and Falcons game. I just want to, like, the Falcons are kind of hot right now, so I want to see. How the Bengals fare with that, because they're just, that team is so bipolar. The Bengals, one week they look really like a juggernaut, next week their offensive line doesn't know how to play football.
Well, you just hit it on the head. It's like, how can Joe Burrow can they protect Joe Burrow?
Yeah,
it's really what it comes down to.
That guy's running for his life.
Yeah, and I think that's about it. Like there's nothing else that really kind of jumps out at me. Bucks Panthers. I mean, like the Buccaneers, like, that's a get right game for them. The Panthers are horrendous.
Oh, horrible.
Like, yeah. So it's just, there's teams that, like, you want to watch them, like, individually,
but not these matchups.
Yes, in terms of matchups, this is a pretty
Well, I see the problem
lackluster
here.
weekend.
The teams on bye this week are the Bills, the Rams, the Vikings, and the Eagles.
So there you go.
Yeah, all those teams.
All
are
good
bye.
teams.
So
all good teams.
Good luck, everybody. This is what we do it though. We get in the trenches, and even on these bad weeks, we still bet every game. We still get up to do that. So, we're in the trenches, people.
Before we call it quits, Tom Brady mentioned a few weeks ago that he sees a lot of bad football across the league. I'm inclined to agree. I don't think the quality of football has been very good at all through 7 weeks. I think it's been a lot of sloppy offensive play in particular. And I never remember a time watching football. Like there are the teams in the league that I think are clearly the best teams. The Eagles, the Bills, the Chiefs. You could say the Vikings, but even then I've seen the Vikings have games where they've let the Bears back into it and that sort of thing.
And primetime the Vikings, nah.
No. And every other game is a coin flip.
Yeah.
Anybody can beat it. Parity has officially hit the NFL.
It has, which I do like, but at the same time, I kind of wish we had some more clear cut. These are the teams. This is what's happening. Because every week you never know. It's really tough for betting. This is a good thing we're not a gambling show because people get super mad at me.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to see my record
because I'm horrible at it. So just never do. If I say something, bet the other thing.
Dude, it's who the hell thought the Steelers were going to go out and beat the Buccaneers?
Nobody. I would have. I didn't bet that game, but I would have hammered the Bucs.
Yes. Who would have thought that the Packers were going to go out? I didn't think the Packers would lose the way they did. However, the Packers were 7.5 point favorites. If you watch this team on a weekly basis like I do, it's crazy talk. It's crazy talk.
I bought into it though. I saw that number. I said,
Ryan, no.
You always think the get right game's gonna, especially if it's against the Patriots or against the Jets. I just want you guys to dominate those teams.
Yeah.
So I just try and be a homer and just root for the boys. We'll drop a 20 on that.
We're gonna leave and this podcast on the note of let's see what happens with the Packers this weekend, man. If they go out and lose this game in Washington against one of the worst teams in football, I don't know where you go from here.
Yeah, good luck. The Bills have a bye, so I'm just kind of easy breezy this weekend, but there's going to be some harsh words on this podcast next week, I could imagine.
You got that right. All right, buddy. Yeah. We're going to get out of here. Thanks, everybody, for checking us out. If you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button below. Spread the word. Tell your friends. We really appreciate it. If you're listening to the audio version, leave a little 5-star review. Comments. Every little bit helps. We appreciate that, too. We'll see you guys next week.